Hi, I'm Liliane Grace. I'm the author of The Mastery Club and The Hidden Order, among other books. And I'm having a conversation today with Georgia Ellis. I met Georgia about 4 or 5 years ago at a business networking event. And I had a stall with my books, personal development sort of novels for youth at the time. And as I was wandering around, I saw another stall there and it had a sign on it, thinking into results. And that absolutely caught my attention because that's what interests me and what my books are about. Living consciously, responsibly, creating one's life. So I wanted to speak to Georgia, especially because just a couple of weeks ago, she interviewed me for her Ellis in Wonderland podcast. And after we'd hit stop on record, Georgia made a comment about how she had achieved some really big goals that she had set. And 14 months later, she was realizing every single one of them. And she had spent something like 4 to 6 months daily reading, recording, listening to recordings of her goal. So I thought we've got to hear more about this because Georgia's work is, her bottom line belief is that every person can achieve personal mastery in their life, both so in personal life and organisationally in business or whatever other area of your life. So she's been working in a corporate environment she worked in a corporate environment for 22 years and has spent 17 years researching human potential, philosophy, spirituality, I'm reading now, neuroscience, ancient wisdom, quantum physics, epigenetics, psychology, and various business models for success. And she's taught both individuals and teams in Asia, the United Arab Emirates, UK, USA, and Australia how to reprogram their minds for success. So she's the creator of Blue Chip Minds, Conscious Architects of Life. I love these names, Georgia. You're really good at this. Life Reloaded and Rise Up Masterclasses, and of course the Ellis in Wonderland podcast. So that's probably enough for an intro. Georgia, welcome. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a delight to be here and be able to share what I've uncovered and what I've been personally be able to do in my life with other people, because this is what it's all about. It's about having a bit of fun and creating an awesome and fulfilled life for ourselves, whatever that might be.
1,000%. So I would love you to begin by telling us this whole story of the 14 months to realizing all those goals you'd set for yourself. What were they? How did you go about creating that reality? And then we might visit some of the work that you do with your clients where you help people who are experiencing some stuckness in terms of limited beliefs or reliving old patterns and things like that, and how you help them. So this is so aligned for people who are also interested in my material. So take it away, Georgia. Tell us.
Okay, awesome. All right. So I want to start first with a bit of I want to preempt this with, I couldn't do any of this without knowledge first. Okay. So I couldn't just do it with blind hopefulness or wishfulness. Okay. So the things that I put into place and the things I did were based on faith, and that faith was based on knowledge. So I had done work first. It wasn't me just going and doing something because I'd heard some guru say something. It was about me applying in my life, getting results, and then keep upping the ante with it. So I got to this point, I think it was around about, I'm just trying to think of the year, but the year doesn't matter. It was about 4 or 5 years ago, probably around about the time we met. And I was in a point in my life where I just started my own business and I was sort of having higgledy-piggledy success. And I thought, right, I need to apply what I know. So I had the knowledge, I was applying it to some extent, but not fully. So the knowledge that I knew was that the actions we take and what we get in our life is based on the programming we have in the subconscious mind. So I thought, okay, so if I look at my results right now, I'm not getting what I wanted. So therefore I had a program, obviously, that wasn't conducive to what I really wanted, my hopes and dreams and goals. So knowing how the mind works and knowing how we can reprogram the mind, I then decided to create a blueprint for my future, which was my goal. This was, okay, so what do I really want? And I got really down and dirty and specific across all areas of my life, around my health, my relationships, my business, the money I was earning, like anything that I wanted for my fulfilled life. I decided to experiment, have a little bit of fun with this knowledge. So I sat down and got really clear. I think I started with a list first of just the things that I wanted. And and most importantly, the impact I wanted to make on the world as well. So it wasn't just material things, it was how I could bring what I wanted, my purpose and my passion to life. So it started off just writing a list. Then I took that list and created a script or a story. I call it a blueprint. And I wrote that out. And I don't have a copy of it here, but it was in an exercise book. So if you're listening in Australia, you know the small exercise books that we have. And it went across about 4 pages. So it wasn't just this small little script. It went for 4 pages. And every morning I got up from the point where I finalized what it was. I got up and I spent roughly 20 to 30 minutes rewriting it word for word.
Mm-hmm.
Now the science, I'll give you a bit of science behind why we do that. So first of all, what I'm now doing is starting to plant a new program into my subconscious. So through repetition, I'm going to be rewiring my brain, but also changing the subconscious program. Now, here's the fun part. Quantum physics and neuroscience has now shown us that if we think a positive thought and have that thought for, I think it's between 16 to 18 seconds, we then automatically start to attract thoughts of the same sort of frequency, same similar thoughts. So imagine I'm writing out every day, not just writing it as a chore, but thinking about what I'm writing, getting emotionally involved with what I'm writing. So I'm creating thoughts, and then new thoughts. So it's now attracting new thoughts. And the more I do that, so this is taking me 20 minutes, but if you can think the same thoughts over, and this is proven in science, if you can think the same thoughts over for around about 68 seconds, so just over a minute, you start to impact the world around you.
Yeah.
So the first line of attraction is through thinking. You start to, first of all, attract similar thoughts. Then you start to create feelings within yourself because of those thoughts. Then you're starting to attract ideas, and then you're starting to step into circumstances and bump into people that make those things happen. So what I'm doing is programming myself every morning, starting to rewrite the old program. And the law of repetition in neuroscience says that the brain cells that fire together wire together, and the ones that you don't think about start to prune apart. So every morning I'm giving my focus on the future that I want, not what I have right now. So through repetition, I'm starting to create this. So some of the things I had written down, which were really interesting things, was I had a business that was global, and I was teaching my own programs globally around the world. I was flying business class. I was earning a certain amount of money. My relationships were awesome. I had great supportive people in my life. At that time, none of that existed. None of it. So I kept writing, just going, okay, I know this works. There's science behind this. It works. I just need to change the conditioning that I have that says that I'm not good enough. I can't have it. I've never earned that money before. I've never flown business class before. It's too expensive to fly business. All those things started to shift and move because every day I was writing out this new me. Then I got a little bit tired of writing it out every day. So I thought I might cheat a little bit. So then I got this amazing tool we have, our phone. And I got the voice recorder on it. And one morning I just sat down with my script and I read it out with so much emotion as if it was already true for me, and recorded myself saying that into the phone. Then I skipped so this was probably after about 2.5, 3 months of writing it out every day. I then started to listen to my recording every morning. Now, the reason we do it in the morning, I'm going to bring a bit of science in here. Sorry, Liliane.
Oh, good. I love it.
This is what we need to know, because a lot of the times we hear these things and we go, oh yeah, whatever. But we can now see why these things happen. So what happens is every day we naturally move through certain brain waves. And when you wake up, so when you're sleeping, you're in a brainwave called delta. So delta is deep sleep, and you move from delta to theta to alpha to beta. So everyone listening right now will be in an awakened state, listening in beta. So this is where we think and we create and so forth. But what happens is, if I want to go directly into the subconscious, let's say I'm a hypnotherapist, I'm going to change your brain waves by talking slowly to you and doing these sort of things, making you think differently with the watch and everything. And you're going to drop into theta mode, so then I can access the subconscious where the program is. But we all naturally move through these brain waves every day. So therefore, as you're waking up, you actually go from delta to theta to alpha to beta. And then at the end of the day, you come down from beta to alpha to theta to delta when you fall asleep. So there's 2 times in the day when your subconscious is wide open. First thing in the morning when you wake up, and just before you go to sleep at night.
Yep.
So I then tapped into that moment where I could self-hypnotize. So I could directly access the subconscious mind with my recording. So
can I interrupt you for a moment? I want to ask two questions. So one is, when you're saying you're doing it first thing in the morning, are you talking about still in bed, just waking up, or are you just talking about in the morning?
Nope. So this was, or not this phone, but another old phone that doesn't have anything else on it but the recording and a couple of meditations. I would roll over, turn off my alarm, grab my phone, hit play, put it under my ear and listen to it. Then I don't know why I did this. Flip over to the other side and play it again. And then
in both ears, both sides of the brain.
I think it was just me wanting to stay in bed a little longer, to be honest. There's no science behind that.
All right. And the other question is, when you were writing it out, was that handwriting? Because I know that there are studies around the power of handwriting versus the keyboard.
Absolutely. Yeah, the studies around, I don't have that data with me right now, but absolutely handwriting. When you're handwriting, you're starting to use more of your brain to handwrite. There's more neural connections being used.
I think that's
so
right.
Handwriting, absolutely. As I said, I started to get a little bit tired of it after about 3 months of writing. I went, surely there's another way. And I thought, first thing in the morning, and that's when I recorded it. So yeah, so it's super easier to do it on your phone. But I do recommend actually writing it first, because that helps you tweak it. And as I was going, little things change, just little tiny tweaks here and there around some of the things.
Yeah.
I don't really want that, or yeah, I do want that, or wouldn't it be nice to add this? Or so things just tweaked. It was verbatim for a little while, but then little things changed, and then I went back to verbatim again. But as my awareness and I could see that my beliefs were changing. So as I was doing it, my conditioning was changing. So therefore I started aiming a little bit higher as I was going through the process.
Brilliant. And you were writing it in bed as well? Was it still part of, no, that was when
it was the first thing I got up. Yeah.
Okay.
So first thing in the morning, got up. One of the very first things that I did was that.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Beautiful. Carry on.
So I don't know where I was up to, but we'll carry on.
You were up to basically saying about the recording, that you recorded and you listened to it every morning.
And then I started getting little signs and I guess instances and notices from the environment around me that things were shifting and changing. That things were happening. It was starting to feed back. The environment around me was starting to feed back to me just little clues that it's starting to happen. Yep. And I actually stopped. When I started getting those clues, I stopped doing it.
Yep.
Now, one of the things that I also did to give me validation, and this is another little trick that a lot of people aren't aware of, is one of the things I did is I spoke to myself in the mirror and watched my body language back at me to determine whether it was a program, whether it was actually, now this is happening and it's just, I'm going to now bump into it. I just don't know when. I'm on the frequency. I've changed the program. Do I believe this? Now it's just going to turn up. So it comes to a point where you surrender and let go. But that happened. I didn't know when to surrender and let go, but using the mirror is really important. So I can actually recall looking in the mirror and telling myself, you're so awesome. You're flying around the world, da, 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 and said all these things. And the person looking back at me went, yeah, you are. Now, if I'd done that 2 weeks earlier and said that, the person looking back and goes, who are you kidding? So I knew it wasn't a program yet, because our face, we know when someone's lying. We pick that up.
Yeah.
So what we're picking up when we're reading people's facial expressions and their energy is we're picking up their subconscious program. So I was just doing that with myself in the mirror, and I went, I've got to keep working, because when I did it and was getting this, who are you fooling? That's never going to happen. I went, right, got to keep going.
Mm.
And then one day the person looking back at me went, too right, woman, you're awesome. You know, it's like this whole energy coming back at me was completely different. And I knew I'd changed the subconscious program. While this was happening, I was taking action. I was acting on inspiration and ideas that were coming to me. But it's really interesting, as I was taking action towards those ideas, it's almost like, I'm going to use the word universe, things were coming in outside of my radar.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like these things that I wanted just fell on my lap, but I wasn't sitting there in my room meditating, waiting for them to turn up. I was out there taking action on what I thought I needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
The things that I needed started to cross my path.
Yeah.
So then within, I think it was about 14 months after, by the time I'd started, 14 months later, I can remember looking at my goal. I have a little goal card that I have with me every day. I remember looking at it and I started to feeling really bored with life. And I go, why am I feeling so bored? And I looked at my goal card and looked at the things I had written. I went, oh, I've achieved them. So I had, in that period of time, I had won a major contract with a financial institution based out of the UK and Singapore to deliver a program I created for them to their staff globally. And they paid for me to fly business class around the world to do all of this. So it happened very quickly. I became a global business. I was traveling business class like I had written, and I was earning what I had written down in that blueprint.
Fantastic.
But I knew it had happened because of the boredom. Like, I'm bored now. What's next? Like, I've got to up the ante.
So, all right, another question, Georgia. The goal card that you referred to, now, my memory of those goal cards is that they're, you know, your business card sort of size. They're quite small, aren't they?
Yeah, I've got one here. I'm just trying to get it underneath the computer here. So this is what
I'm wondering how much of your original, the big 4 pages that you wrote in your exercise book is on the goal card, or is that a summary? Can you,
Yeah, it's just a little summary to keep it top of mind when I'm out and about.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, if it's in my purse. So if I'm out shopping and I have to grab a card out or some cash out, this pops in. I don't even have to see it and read it anymore because I know what it represents, and it makes me think about my goal.
Yep.
And remember what I said earlier, when you think about something and you think about it again, you're starting to impact the quantum field.
Yeah.
So by having something like this, to just a little goal card, having something like that on you and just seeing it from time to time during the day helps bring the energy to the goal as well, to you and the goal.
Yes. No, I completely agree. So, all right, so let's drill down into a little more detail on that. That goal card, is it a fluent statement or is it bullet points of things that you're going for?
Doesn't matter. I think, let's not get too technical here. It's what is right for you. It's something that's going to trigger the thought of what it is you're moving towards. A couple of things is make it present tense as if you've already got it.
Yep.
So you want to put yourself into the emotional feeling, because that's what happens, is that it's the emotional state. It's called the law of vibration that actually brings things to you. It's not the law of attraction. We get confused around that. So the law of vibration is the founding law, and the law of attraction is a secondary law to that. Yeah.
When I wrote the Mastery Club, rather than talking about the law of attraction, I talked about the law of resonance and vibration for that exact reason. I agree. I get what you're saying. And then introduced the law of magnification in the hidden order. But just still in relation then to the wording and the expression on your goal card, did you when you talk about using present tense, did you also date your goals? Because I know Bob Proctor in his program talks about, on so-and-so date, I'm so happy and grateful that I have, which is kind of does a weird thing in your brain, doesn't it? Because of course the date is not the same date. So tell me about that.
So yeah, we put a date on there. It's really interesting because I get asked this a lot. So we put a date on there. We actually don't know if it's going to happen by that date.
Yeah.
But we put that on there just to give us something to aim towards.
Yeah.
Okay, because it sort of keeps it close at hand for us. Because if we put a date on it that's 10 years out, well, that's too far in the future for our minds to comprehend. So we want to pick something that's within 6, 12, 18 months that we think that what our belief systems believe it might happen. It may happen sooner, it may happen a little bit later. But the date there is just to give us a little bit of structure for our analytical mind. But if we look at the date you're putting there, you're just picking a date out of the blue. You can then force it to happen by that date, by a lot of hard work and hustle and grit, if you want. Or you can use the things that you've been talking about, using the law of vibration. You can then start to, what I call, tune into that potential energetically, and then you bump into it, without forcing it. That's a much nicer way of living. Right? Who wants the hustle and the grit and the late nights, right?
Yeah.
So I did this without, like, people say, how did it happen? I go, yeah, not a lot of work, actually. I tuned into it on the quantum field and it just bumped into me. So so the date is there just for us to give us, it sort of just satisfies the analytical mind. Well, when's this going to happen?
Okay.
Something else that Bob says is, he says, put a date on there, but if the date comes and it hasn't happened, and you know that you've been tuning in every day, and you know that you are on that emotional frequency of it, and you've checked in with your beliefs, and you've been doing the inner work on yourself, we'll just change the date. Right? Just change the date. But if you're looking at it and going, it hasn't happened, but hey, I've had all these ideas come to me and I've done none of them, and I haven't been writing my goal every morning, and I haven't been listening to it, well, then hang on a minute. Any wonder it hasn't come by the date? You're not doing the work.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a real, it's something you've really got to comprehend and understand. When I started this conversation, I said I'd stepped out doing this based on understanding. Faith based on understanding.
Yes.
I had a lot of knowledge behind me, so I knew what I was doing. That's the important thing. Like, just listening to me now, for your listeners, is not going to give you enough faith. You've got to go and find some of that evidence yourself and marry it up with what you're hearing, and use your own inner genius to formulate what's going to work for you.
Yeah. I had, a few years ago when I launched the Mastery Club, I had a little mini e-course that people could do as well, that I call the UCAN plan, UCAN, as an acronym for understand the principles and the laws, and then choose what you'd like to achieve, and then take action on it. And I think the N was now let go, like trust the process. So that same thing. I'm just loving everything you're saying, and the timing for this conversation is magnificent, because the beginning of the year does, for whatever silly arbitrary reason, have a clean energy to it, doesn't it? It has that sense of, we're starting fresh. Whatever didn't work last year or up until now, here's a fresh start. And so everything you're sharing is such perfect timing.
It's
Georgia.
Beautiful energy the start of the year. There's this, sorry, I just realized my top's opened up. There's beautiful energy this time of year, because the energy is all fresh, and you're right, there's this new beginnings. I just want to go one step further on the dates, just so people understand this. And I'm not sure if you cover this I think you might cover it in the Mastery Club. So that's the law of gestation.
Yeah.
So the law of gestation, I knew that my goal is going to need to unfold in its own time. I didn't know when it was. I did put a date on there. And to be honest, I can't remember what date I put on there, and I can't even remember if I met that date or not. I was too busy getting on with it.
Yep.
If that makes sense. So the law of gestation basically says that everything has a period of time that it needs to gestate. So if we're a couple and we go to bed tonight and make love, and it's the right time, and we fall pregnant, gestation period, 9 months, proven by science. Plant a carrot seed today, if it's the right time to plant a carrot seed, 6 weeks later, 6 to 7 weeks, I'll have a carrot. So science has no idea about your specific goal or my specific goal, because they're different and we're different, on what it's actually going to take for that gestation period to happen, for it to unfold. But there is a gestation period. Absolutely. We just don't know it. That's why we just put a date on there and go with that date. And maybe we've chosen the wrong gestation period. For For you, it might be, you know, instead of 6 months, it might be 3 months, or for the person who's got a similar goal, it might be 18 months or 2 years. Because we've got to do a lot of inner work, and there's a lot of things that we need to do and for things to start to line up. So it does take time, and patience is really a virtue in this process.
So you've got your date, your, you know, arbitrary selected date on your goal card, but it's there almost for your subconscious mind to notice, and you're not focusing on that. You're more focusing on the thing you're manifesting, and you're not attaching to the date. Yeah.
I think the date for me when I was doing it just kept me active, kept me acting on the ideas when they came. Okay, so it made me take action, because I'm thinking, okay, so I've got a new goal now, and I've got the goal for the 30th of June this year. And so when I'm rewriting that goal every day, and I'm listening to my I'm still doing this, by the way, for the next goal. So when I'm doing that and rewriting my goal, and I've got the date on there, I'm so happy, and I don't even say it's so happy and grateful. It is now June 30th, 2019, and I have So because I'm writing that, and when ideas come to me, I go, if I'm going to hit that goal that I've set for myself, and that ideas just come down, I better take immediate action. And what I'm discovering is the universe loves speed. As in, I'll give you an idea, act on it. Because as soon as you act on it, I can then put the next piece of the puzzle in front of you. I can then put the next domino in front of you. But if you take forever to act on it, well, your gestation period's going to start to spread out, isn't it?
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So thank you. That's the first question I wanted to ask you, and we've had a rich and wonderful half hour or so on that. Now, share a little bit about when you work with clients and some of the challenges they experience with being really stuck or negative or fearful or whatever it is, and how you help them to move through blocks and barriers.
So I think these go hand in hand, because one of the things that blocks people is what we would call self-sabotage.
Yeah.
It's basically, I go to do something, but then I cut myself off, or I don't do it, or I make excuses. So these blocks, it's all the same thing. It's all entwined with this blueprint. So if I wasn't changing those belief systems at a subconscious level as I was going along, and I had this goal, I would never take the actions, because I hadn't the belief systems that I could achieve it.
Yeah.
Okay. So the things that block us is this subconscious programming that we've been blessed with by our parents, our teachers, our preachers, the media, and our friends and our social groups. They tell us who we are, and we believe it. And it's not true. We all are these amazing, like I say, conscious architects of life. We can create the life we want. You've got to believe it first to be able to do that. So the blocks for people is generally their self-belief, what they believe about themselves. And for any of your listeners that have a goal that is outside of what they've ever done before, the person who is going to achieve that goal is not the person they are today.
Yeah.
So how do we get from here, the person I am today, to the person I need to be? Write out a blueprint and start retraining yourself. Even though it feels like it's not true and it's a lie, you tell yourself something over and over again enough, it becomes your truth. And a lot of the programming we have is based on the lies we've been told.
Yes.
And we've believed them over and over and over again. So let's just change
the lie.
What I think is the lie. It's not actually a lie. It's just we're now starting to program ourselves with the truth of our potential and our ability to create the life we want.
Yeah. So really the remedy is it's just to do the daily writing of that vision, that blueprint, and to do the recording, and to take the actions, and to look in the mirror, and, you know, for feedback. Were you doing the mirror statement right from the beginning?
Sporadically. Not every day. And some of the work I did early on was I would look myself in the mirror and just say, you're awesome, you've got this, all these sort of things. And the person looking back was going to start with, but then it started getting better and better.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit of that going on. Like there's probably other little bits and pieces I was doing that I was just doing unconsciously.
Mm-hmm.
that I can't remember what I did, so therefore I can't share those with you. But they were the main things:
Yep.
the writing, the mirror work, the goal card, and just knowing that I had a program and an image of myself that was not going to get me to where I wanted to go. I had to change that.
Mm. Mm. Georgia, I think we've reached the natural conclusion for a really riveting conversation. Thank you for sharing your journey in realizing these inspiring goals, and for sharing the detail, the steps, because the thing is, we hear a lot of generalizations about in this field of personal growth. And so to hear the detail of what someone did on a daily basis and what the X factors were is really important and valuable.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. And just for the people listening, go and gather the information yourself and do the research, because that gives you the belief that it will work. So for me, I went and found the science, and it's there. Absolutely, it's there when you go looking. So,
and that's a lovely segue to also, if you would like to now share your website and some, last little bit about what you do in your coaching practice, in case anyone would like to follow up with you.
Yeah, sure. So you can find me on bluechipminds.com. So just www.bluechipminds with an S on the end.com. And there's various things I do. So I work in corporations, and I do masterclasses and take people through the process of uncovering some of the things that don't serve us and give them a bit of science behind it, then work them through creating that blueprint. I also do public masterclasses as well. So they'll be listed on the site. And I take people through also a program, which is the Thinking into Results that piqued your interest at the a networking event. I take them through that program, and that's a 12 module program that goes into a lot of the goal setting, the blueprint, plus a lot of other things around our belief systems and some of the laws and how to overcome fear. So that's also another really great thing too, if people want to invest in a longer period of time and really, can I swear, get their shit together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Too late. I asked and then I did it. So
yeah, I have the same philosophy. All right. And so, as one of the other things you said in the introduction you sent me, or the notes about your bio and all that, you said about, as we do this work, this internal work, it creates a positive ripple effect through our families, through our organization, our community, all those sorts of things. So this is really powerful stuff. As you say, when you get your shit together personally, you're really a blessing in the world.
The stories I could tell you of clients who've come to me and gone through this work, and their relationships are better, their careers better, they've all of a sudden their finances have changed just by working on themselves.
Yeah, it's miracle stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you, Georgia. So that's www.bluechipminds.minds, plural, isn't it? Yep. bluechipminds.com to connect with Georgia and her Ellis in a Wonderland podcast as well. And I'll obviously be sharing this interview through various other places as well. Thank you, Georgia.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure.